Super. So our idea with this was that we all have found things, as we go along, either early on or having been doing this a number of years that are helpful, that other people might not be aware of. And so we wanted to highlight some of those. So I'm going to give you some quick examples, and then I'll let Shikha go to, unless Shikha, were you about to share something?
No, I wasn't. I was.
Okay. All right. So let me share a couple things, and then Shikha, if you want, or anybody else from the planning team, if you want to just give some examples. And then we hope that the rest of you will participate by sharing things. Hopefully a lot of these things are posted on the forum or could be posted on the forum, just because that would give them one place to go, and you can do searches on the forum to find things, but even if they're not, it's good to know what's available. So let me see if I can. All right, I think you can see my screen. And I am showing the downloads page of the forum. So this is one that I had Claire explain to me a little bit more, because I wanted to try to make sure I was putting stuff the best place. And I just posted we made a whole bunch of outreach education brochures, new ones in 2021. So this is just the main downloads page. You can upload little JPEGs showing what the materials are, which is nice. And also over here on the right, there's a couple ways of kind of like tagging or well, it's really not like tagging because you can't do multiple tags, but there's ways of organizing putting them in a category, basically. So though you can just see everything up here, this is like what's new with downloads. There's also categories for species, and I think we can't add these, but Claire can add new categories. So if you see something that's missing. So for example, I think I put in some stuff to the knotweed category. So you can either put them in a category like that, or there's also some categories of, hold on, I'm gonna have to go back one more. Categories of types of materials. So I put a number in here as well. So see print material, and it has like door hangers, postcards, posters, K-12 activities. And I think that these could be good ways of, if you're specifically looking for like a printed or that type of thing, you could have a quick guide to what are some other ones that people have produced. I'll say for our stuff, it was all produced in Canva, which is also really easy to share as templates if people want to use any of that. So I'm happy to share those links as well. So that's one example. So I encourage you to check that out if you haven't been on the downloads part yet, and add your materials as well. And then I'm going to show you one more. So let me see if I can switch windows. All right. So this came up in the European Frogbit Collaborative meeting, and I know not everybody's involved in those meetings, so I just wanted to highlight it real quick here. And it's that Oakland County CISMA has been doing our data collection basically purely in GIS for several years now. And so this is our data that we have for Oakland County, like survey data for road right-of-ways. That's what all the lines you see are. And then all the dots are survey points. And these are some surveys we did of trails. So that's why you can kind of see that they outline things. So I just wanted to put that up there briefly to say that if anyone, I think we're going to work a little bit in one of the Frogbit subgroups on possibly trying to create some more things like that. But if anybody's interested in or wants to know more about how we organize this data, wants me to download, some data so that you could make a copy of it yourself, all CISMAs do have access to an ArcGIS online account. And this has been really useful. Our partners aren't using it a ton yet, but I hope that will change. But we do use it all the time, and we use the apps on our phone, and it's worked really well for us. So I am going to stop. Okay.
Right, Erica, did you want me to?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Next. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen because I have some websites I would also like to share. And then, okay. So in this first website, I know we've been talking about, like invasive species and what can people do, once they remove the invasive species. So native plants goes very, hand in hand with invasive species. And a couple of things that I would like to showcase is this one website that MSU Extension has. And this is cool because you can search for plants, look for things via region, soil moisture. Often people will call in and be like, hey, what can I plant? I've got dry soil, pick blooming periods. And so they have a variety of things. And so, if you can click northern lower, so it's nice that they have things broken down because as we know, Michigan varies a lot in terms of soil. And so, light and East Lansing, it's like probably the shadiest and cloudiest place on the entire earth. And so I clicked a couple things and then here's what popped up. So they have like common bonsai, cup plant, and it kind of lists some of the criteria that I had put in. And then, you could kind of click on them and get some more information there. More information about that. So that might be something that's useful, has some benefits of some of those plants, habitat. And also, I don't have any affiliations for this company at all, but I do also want to point out that there is a group called Wild Types, and they sell native plants. If you look at their catalog itself, that actually is another important website. I can drop that in the chat when I'm done here. Another website that I thought was really helpful, the Michigan Natural Shorelines Partnership. And they have something that's nice, geared towards what are native plants closer to, the riparian zone, in the water, deep in the water, etc. And so they have a variety of plant lists, and they're native. And so here's the 4 different zones that they talk about: below the water level, between the water level, etc. And so if you kind of scroll down, you can kind of click on one of these categories. So one of the main areas is, let's see, we'll do between the water level. And so, whoops. And so if you click the link there, and I will drop the links for these websites in the chat as well, so you'll have it. And so as I clicked on that one zone, and it kind of gives you the botanical name, common names, bloom time, height, adaptive features, and it does, categories like grasses, forbs, trees and shrubs, etc. And then you can kind of click on them. And then again, it'll pull out some information about that species, kind of where it's found. And then the next one, it's been around for a couple of years, and I really like this. And it's not comprehensive because there are a couple of plants that I've been looking for, and I didn't see them in the list. But this one is cool because it's got some of the life stages of some of the plants that you'd see, and kind of like what they would look like at different parts of the year. And so I know this looks a little bit squished, but it does look a little bit, I don't know if it's just my browser today, but again, it has like a species, and then it has, like, if you look on the side, what it looks like, when is it dormant, so it's like black over there, so then you can kind of look at the key. And then green vegetation is when you expect to see the green vegetation at what months. And so let me see if I could. They do have, invertebrates. So here's a little bit more. So if you have something like hemlock woolly adelgid, when would you expect to see them? You know, juveniles in January, February, adults in March. And then you have like the pie chart that shows undetectable, low, high, medium. And then let me go back to the plant to see if we can get a better. Okay, I guess it's but again, you get the idea, you know, undetectable versus detectable. So that's a cool website. And when you get on it in your own website, you can kind of share things. You can download information. It looks a little bit bigger. I don't know why my computer screen is squishing it out today, but I thought this one was pretty helpful. And so it's a Wisconsin First Detector Network. So those were the 3 that I wanted to share, and I can stop sharing. All right.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you, Shikha. Those are all great, and there's lots of communication in the chat as well. So feel free now, if anyone from the planning team wants to share something, let's use either raise hand or you can put it in the chat as well. And I think Christina, I see. Oh, and Nick.
I think Nick is first.
Okay,
so
go ahead, Nick.
Gentleman's first.
I'm quick to the draw, Christina. No, I just wanted to throw out there, maybe not so much an online resource, but a resource for the coordinators and maybe even strike teams. Probably a lot of coordinators maybe already utilize this, maybe not, but it's pretty much just trying to fill this educational gap. But cell phones. I think a lot of us all over the years have donated our personal time calling partners, calling private landowners, calling businesses from personal cell phones. And with so many options out there nowadays, there's a lot of really good options for getting like work cell phones very affordable with very affordable plans. There's really affordable options through like Straight Talk, that sort of stuff. Cheaper phones, cheap plans, $35 a month, very, very straightforward. But there's also a lot of you are hosted within conservation districts, and there's actually government rate plans that you could actually sign up for. I don't have that contact in front of me right now, but I know several of you are actually already part of that. So I would encourage maybe those of you that are part of that to maybe you could share that contact, or Elise, I know you and I briefly spoke about it, that you'd be getting government plan or you already have that, but it really helps having a specific phone nowadays for pretty much everything professional that you need to be doing, whether it's calling landowners, calling and it could be for yourself as a coordinator, or having a cell phone dedicated for like a strike team lead, anything like that. So calling landowners, texting, even especially today's day and age with everything being smartphones, you can utilize and download Survey 123 if you're collecting data. Everything for very, very affordable, so you're not having to give your personal phone number and everything like that away to private landowners. So that was just my quick little resource suggestion, in case people aren't really talking about that. So
Nick, that's great. I just gonna follow up. If there isn't an option for purchasing a cell phone, and I see some people are starting to chat about this in the chat, you can also get a free Google Voice number. So it's not your personal phone number that's being shared to everybody, but you're still using your personal phone. So you essentially have 2 phone numbers on your own personal phone, and you use one for work and the other for your personal stuff.
Sorry, I'm skipping turns here, but this is Elise, and I wanted to chime in because obviously Nick and I did talk about this, and my conservation district that I sit in as my fiduciary just got phones like at the start of this fiscal year, and it was brought up for us, and I know this is going to apply to a lot of people, many CISMAs, not all of us, but many CISMAs sit at a conservation district, and you are technically local government. And so we realized that going with our personal phones for our business matters meant that if anybody ever FOIAs anything for the district, your entire personal cell phone is getting FOIA'd and gone through for that FOIA request. And so that was a huge, like, whoa, and that, like, it should have been done a long time ago to get at least even a separate, like, this Google number is great. But just to get that separation, because it's like, yes, during work hours, I was using my cell phone for work stuff. And then, you know, on my personal time, that is my personal time. But if you are subject to a FOIA request, there is no distinction on that. They're like, hey, if you're taking work calls at 7 p.m., doesn't matter if you're off the clock, if it was a weekend and you're like, but I do outreach on the weekend. They're like, we don't care, we're going through your whole phone. So just for your own privacy and your own protection, that was a huge distinction we wanted to make. And at least for us, Verizon gave us the entire office, our phones were free, so we only have to pay the monthly plan for the lines, which is coming in at under $200 for like 5 lines and free phones, and they were like $700 phones. They're not like the cheapo phones. So highly recommend anybody looking into it. I think it's pretty affordable, all said and done. And if anybody wants to talk more on it, I'm happy to, you know, chat with anybody after this.
Okay, let's go to Christina. And then maybe Kevin.
Yeah, so that was all really good information. I'm not sure mine is going to top that, but I just wanted to share a website that might be helpful for some of you for work, but hopefully also for your fun life also. It's a system online that not a lot of people know about called the Michigan Recreational Boating Information System. Mr. BIS is the cute acronym for short. I can never remember the address, so you can just Google Mr. BIS and it'll take you here. This helps you find boating access sites. It gives you all kinds of information about everything water related for and access. So like if you are doing work at, let's say, Long Lake, you can put it in, and then it will show you every single Long Lake that exists in Michigan. And then if you want more information, like let's say we're in Cloverdale in Berry County, you can request more details for it. And when you go here, wait for it. Well, anyway, it's going to give you information about the site proper, like how many parking spaces are there, who administers the site, and their contact information, who are the legislators that are in the districts that you are looking at. And now it doesn't want to do it. So let's try to view it on the map page, and then you can view it on the map and you can bring it in, and then it'll show you exactly where that access site is. And then there's some of the information there too. So helpful if Mr. BIS has its problems, right? As we are currently seeing right now, but it's the best site that I know of in Michigan that can catalog what's happening around the state and can be a first go-to for you. It's not all of the information is accurate, but it's close.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina. Yeah, that's cool. And we're going to try to collect all of these links and post them somehow so people can grab them later too if they want. So I think I said Kevin next, and then Samantha, I know, has her hand up as well. So.
All right, thanks, Erica. I've got 2 sites to share. One is just from the michigan.gov/invasive species, the state of Michigan invasive species website, but a page that is sometimes and is definitely buried right now. We're kind of going through a rework of state websites, and so this page gets buried, but I wanted to point it out here. It's our status and strategies documents for some aquatic invasive species. And so you can see the list on the screen here of all the species that we have so far. And they contain 3 key things. One is kind of life history or biological information about each of these species. And then I think maybe the next 2 are even more useful than that. And that is 2, it summarizes current management options. So mechanical control, chemical control, all those sorts of things are outlined in pretty good depth here. And then lastly, each of these documents also identifies future directions for management. So you might get grant ideas here or partnership ideas by looking in the future needs section. So that's here, and I'll drop the link to it in the chat. And the other one I'll share, and this is putting on my outreach hat, is I get a lot of requests for outreach materials, and usually I can accommodate most of those, but when I don't have stuff in stock, sometimes I send people to Wildlife Forever, which is run out of Minnesota, and they have a catalog of aquatic invasive species and terrestrial invasive species, actually, outreach materials. And what I have pulled up here is just their product catalog, so you can kind of go through and see the different things they offer that are kind of pre-printed. They're also really easy to work with in terms of adding your logo or your funding source logo, or changing content around, or whatever you want to do. They'll do custom things as well, but it's a great place for me to get ideas and to source things in Michigan. So over the years, I've ordered most of the things they offer here. Some of it's really good, some of it's kind of cheesy, some of it you can get a better price other places, but it's a good kind of one-stop shop to at least get ideas and a place to start. So I'll drop that in the chat too, and that's all I've got. Thanks, Erica. Awesome.
Thank you, Kevin. Samantha, and then Sigrid.
Hi. I know I mentioned this at the Frogbit Collaborative last year. I don't know how many people are overlapping in this talk as well, but I know that a lot of us host or put on trainings or have guest speakers. It would kind of be nice to, our whole part is outreach and collaboration, to kind of reach out or have a way that we can reach out to kind of each other's contacts to fill some of those needs and presentations down the line. So kind of like a speaker forum, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good thought. Maybe we can start like a forum page or something where people could post so in the Frogbit meeting we were talking about, some of us are willing to give talks in other communities that don't have Frogbit as much or haven't been doing it as long, since we already have the talks ready. So maybe that's something we can start a page about, and people could post if there's something they're willing to talk about. I think in this age of a lot of online meetings, it can be really easy to bring in a speaker from other areas. So yeah, cool. All right, Sigrid?
So I don't know if anybody else is having this difficulty, but I could use some help. I've found 2 grants now that I'm needing to contact a lot of different landowners, and just finding the landowner name, I'm kind of getting some apps that I can do that with. Gaia is one of my favorites now. But then finding their contact information, and they often, at least up here in the UP, have second homes up here, or like hunting shack kinds of ideas. So they don't even live up here. So tracking them down and getting a hold of them is really, really difficult. And I'm wondering if there's some way that the state people have a database, some access that they can give to CISMAs to make that so much easier. Because Gaia is actually, in order to use that, I have to pay for it. And the same for on Hunt, I think, is the other one I was using. Anybody have suggestions or ways that they're getting all of these contacts to just get access to property for surveying, let alone getting access and or contacting them for treatment permissions? Any suggestions?
I know that some of the counties have GIS, online GIS sites where you can go and click parcel. It's like a parcel map. So if you contact the county, they might be able to help. Or NRCS, it usually uses that site as well. So if you have a NRCS contact, they might be able to directly provide you that link, because it's each county has a different place where they keep it, I guess.
Yeah, Sigrid, I'll see. Really quick here, in the state, we have used to find all the property owners around a specific water body to do a mailing. We have gone directly to the municipality. Sometimes that's the county, but sometimes a village or township as well just has that information. I don't know where they're getting it. I'm sure they have some databases, but we've been able successfully 2 or 3 times just to ask the local municipality, hey, we're looking for all the property owners around this water body. Can you provide that to us? And they've been able to do that.
Yeah, I was gonna basically say the same thing, but a lot of times too, when it's on like someone's website, it's normally on like the equalization page. So if you have like a county or something, that being said, like for us at least in Three Shores, Chippewa and Mackinac County, all their information's online, and Luce County has nothing. So it can be hit and miss depending on where you're at in the UP.
This is Michelle. I was going to say probably some places in the UP don't have that level of information, but I've been really successful in searching county websites. It's either the equalization page or it's the tax assessors page. You can Google it and find most counties if they have it. And inside of each of those parcel maps, when you click on the information icon, it will, if that person doesn't live in that place and it's a second home, it will list the address that the tax bill goes to, which is usually where they live. So the tidbits from cruising those databases.
Between dropouts and old ears, I'm only catching something equalization page. What are you guys saying?
I have a link to mine in the county. Well, what's one of the counties that you work with in, Sigrid?
I'm in Keweenaw, Houghton, and Baraga counties.
Okay, I'll go see if I can find one for you and put it in the chat.
Wow, you're a sweetie. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. And I see a bunch of links in the chat as well for things, other pages people had. So anything else, anybody else have a resource want to share or a question they want to ask like Sigrid did that maybe the group can help with?
I have a question. Has anybody found the most efficient and effective way to gain permission from a landowner once you have their information? I'm curious because we've kind of done a multi-prong approach where we've went door to door and specifically talked to people, and we've done mailings. And I'm just wondering if there's any other options out there that we haven't yet explored that might be a little bit more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, if you can, I generally prefer phone calls. I think if you can talk to them, you know, person to person, they're more willing to communicate with you. That being said, you have to have their phone calls at first, and none of those GIS stuff will give you that information. But yeah, I mean, we had the same problem as you, where we were just hounding landowners down, trying to get permission forms, and some of them lived in different states or out of the country or something like that. But I don't know if any of that was helpful to you, Mackenzie.
Does anybody know if there is a website or some type of county organization that would have phone numbers on file? Because when we're looking up information, we can usually see their name and their address, and that's it.
And I also see that Audrey has her hand up. So Audrey, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was going to say that, you know, a lot of times we try to, especially for people who aren't like super eager to give their permission, a lot of times we'll go through neighbors, especially for doing invasive species treatments. Neighbors are usually like for knotweed, if one neighbor wants to treat, they can usually convince their other neighbor to treat. For like doing hemlock woolly adelgid surveys, we often go through our local foresters or through conservation districts, like anybody that's already has a relationship with that landowner, anybody that we can find for that. And even sometimes with municipalities, you know, we'll use landowners who are influential in the area to get permissions. But for phone numbers, it's going to sound very old school, but I recommend looking in the phone book. Some people still have phone numbers listed in there, so.
Great, thanks everybody.
Samantha, it looks like you've got your hand up, and this is some really good discussion, so I don't want to cut it off, even though we're at 11:15, and this is closely leads into our next session. So go ahead, Samantha.
Yeah, I agree with Aubrey on, especially for our invasive knotweed, we would get our locations through like, sorry, MISC, or not MISC, sorry, MISN, so many acronyms, and through them, we would talk to their neighbors. A lot of the neighborhoods that we went into this past year also have neighborhood Facebook groups or forums, and some of the people that we have talked to have been willing to kind of spread that information via that platform, and I've asked for permission to be parts of those groups. So that's kind of another way that you could maybe get tap into a more broad neighborhood resources, asking or looking on Facebook to see if some of the places that you're surveying have these community pages where they report and stuff. That's it.